When I was little, I always went to libraries, and I'd go down and I'd look at all the books, and it would just be like every single book was kind of a different world that you could just read.
Access to books, whether it's through things like the Apparating library or through local libraries or through teachers who care the extra step, has always been really, really important for me. My mom didn't bring a ton of books into the house, and so I always got them from anywhere else.
Books have always been like my comfort zone. I've had roommates who tease me because I'll come home from the library with 25 plus books. And they're always like, you know the library's gonna still be there, right? And so I've always loved having access to books. Libraries are my favorite thing.
I feel like books were really important for me growing up because they helped me develop like morals and perspectives on a lot of different issues.
When I was a kid, books are what kept me happy and is where I went to when I had no one else to turn to and when I was lonely.
When I was in 4th grade, my house flooded and I lost all of my books, but the public library was still open, my school library was still open.
Books have been important to me for a long time, and especially when I was younger, they exposed me to people and places and ideas that I didn't have access to in my community.
You can always make friends with someone and have something to talk about in common with them, because if you've both read the same book, then you kind of have something automatically that you can talk about them to without having to kind of make small talk and get to know people that way.
Books are probably one of the best ways that I can really see something from somebody else's point of view.
Access to books is really important, especially for people in underrepresented communities, because libraries provide specific special collections for the specific community that they serve.
Living in a hotel that was away from my hometown, I couldn't play with my friends anymore, but I could always go back to books that I got from the library. So yeah.
That was really good. Wow. Yeah. At the Harry Potter Alliance, we know how important access to books is for all people. If our founders hadn't had access to the Harry Potter books, our organization wouldn't exist. So every spring, we honor our literary roots and commit to spreading literary access in the form of advocacy, celebration, and the donation of physical books. Since 2009, our members have put over 250,000 books in the hands of readers. We've helped stock libraries in Rwanda, the Mississippi Delta, Brooklyn, Detroit, Kansas City, as well as England and the Netherlands. In addition to our annual International Book Drive, over the past 10 years, our community of activists, nerds, avid readers, and pop culture enthusiasts have tackled all kinds of issues, from marriage equality and net neutrality to economic inequality and ethical cocoa sourcing. Our community unites online over a shared love of story, but they also organize locally in over 200 chapters in 45 nations. And during our Accio Books campaign last year, our chapters collected over 50,000 books for their local communities in 8 countries around the world. Our chapters never fail to blow us away, which is why this year we are thrilled to be dedicating part of our Accio Books campaign to supporting one of their projects. Over the past year, Masaka HPA in Uganda has been working with community leaders and volunteers to build a school in Masaka's rural area. So this year, we're planning to use our global community of chapters and wizard activists to stock a library for the school. With your help, we'll be able to provide the Goodshepherd School with novels, textbooks, and even some school supplies. But it doesn't stop there. For this year's Accio Books campaign, we also plan on advocating alongside the American Library Association to increase funding and support for public libraries during National Library Legislative Day, and develop resources for advocating for libraries around the world. We'll also be teaming up with Book Riot to host events in honor of World Book Night in cities around the US, and creating a toolkit for hosting your own event anywhere in the world. And finally, our Apparating Library will be continuing to pop up at Fandom events around the US. The Apparating Library is a progressive, community-generated library built by our members across the world. In addition to being the most magical book swap of all time, it has also provided books to communities in need both in the US and abroad. Because the Apparating Library doesn't have a physical, fixed location, anyone can become a friend of the Apparating Library, no matter where you live, by donating to support the HPA's literary efforts. By becoming a friend of the Apparating Library, you will receive a membership card, an exclusive quarterly newsletter, have your name listed on the website, receive access to our Friends of the Apparating Library book club, and experience a warm, glowing feeling in your heart knowing that you've helped support global literacy. Everyone one of us at the Harry Potter Alliance was irrevocably impacted by the books we had access to growing up. Books shaped our identities, gave us role models, and showed us what the world could be like beyond our day-to-day lives. They were a warm hug when we felt lonely, and a dose of courage when we needed to stand up for what we believed in. We don't want to live in a world where anyone lacks access to the education, imagination, and joy that books provide. So please help us make that world a reality by donating to the Friends of the Apparating Library today. And as they say in our neighborhood, the weapon we have is love. And books. Lots of books.
Do it for me. Do it for the kids, do it for charity. Yeah, do it for the HP.